Hey folks, welcome to Reality Check. There once was an idea that was the gamer. A shut-in, a recluse, a person forced to look to digital interaction to really fit in and to find meaning in society. More than just that though, I'm sure we've all heard the mainstream stereotype that online gamers use digital worlds as an analogue or replacement for real-life interactions, and that these scenarios make it easier for the socially maladjusted to converse with others without some of the messiness or friction of real-life engagement. Now, you and I, as people who play games, we all have a wealth of anecdotal observations for why this just isn't true. Unfortunately, though, this notion does persist among certain groups of society. Well, thankfully, we now have some hard science we can show these people and help disprove this myth once and for all. And that's what this week's Reality Check is all about. Public displays of play. Studying online games in physical settings is a study headed up by researchers at North Carolina State University. In the paper, published in the Journal of Computer-Mediated Communication, the researchers revealed that online gaming can supplement or even enhance gamers' social lives rather than inhibiting them. In the words of lead author Dr. Nick Taylor, gamers aren't the antisocial basement dwellers we see in pop culture stereotypes. They're highly social people. Loners are the outliers in gaming, not the norm. So, how did they demonstrate this? Well, the researchers analysed the behaviour of thousands of online gamers, most notably those who play MMOs like World of Warcraft and EVE Online. They attended a large number of different industry events in Canada and the UK. Now, these included large and small LAN parties, fan conventions, internet cafes, and pub-based gaming nights. Alongside these large observations and interviews, the researchers also carried out a smaller scale but in-depth survey of 378 gamers, focusing on how they communicated with others. Their goal was to track both the online and offline behaviour of gamers, focusing on how they communicated with one another. Now, overwhelmingly, they observed that gaming was just one aspect of social behaviour going on at these events. Once again, in the words of Dr. Taylor, we found that gamers were often exhibiting many social behaviours at once, watching games, talking, drinking, and chatting online. Now, while some of the settings observed where gamers played, such as internet cafes with segregated cubicles, did discourage offline interaction, this was very much in the minority. Conversely, local area network or LAN parties, gaming conventions, and pub-based gaming meetups all supplemented or enhanced gamers' overall social connectedness. In the study, the example of LAN parties was highlighted, explaining that these were most often played with friends, romantic partners, or guildmates. So for most people, the purpose of being there was to take part in both the online and offline interactions. Interestingly, this was true regardless of which games gamers were actually playing, and also regardless of how they behaved in-game. So if they're playing in a heavily adversarial way, this did not appear to translate to their real-world interactions. A player could be utterly ruthless in the game and still socialize normally offline. This ties in nicely to another thing said by the research team. Now, they make the case that what goes on in an MMO should not be thought of as an analogue or an alternative to what goes on in real life. They argue that we shouldn't think of players as either being here in the real world or there online, but rather that one is meshed within the other. In essence, remember that it is just a game, and that the vast majority of people who play online games maintain that sense of perspective. One thing Dr. Taylor and the rest of the team did note, however, is that this work focused on Western gaming communities specifically, and that there could well be social differences and therefore different results were this test to be replicated in other gaming cultures, and that this is something they'd like to look into in the future. So, what did you make of this study? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you'd like to have a read of the paper yourself, then head on over to my blog, which is tinyurl.com/camfrazblog, and there'll be a link there. Alternatively, if you're watching on YouTube, then that link is also in the description. Last week on Reality Check, I did a call out for potential future topics, and I got a ton of great suggestions, especially over Twitter. User Levy Smith suggested, you should do a Reality Check episode on Batman and if his gadgets are possible. Hail to Rocksteady! Bill Hudson asked, what causes a civilization just one more turn mentality? And at Pseudo Kieran said, do shields, like in Star Trek or Halo or Thor or any sci-fi thing. Thank you very much for those ideas, guys. I've added them all to the list. Now, if you have a suggestion or would like to get in touch with me about anything else, then just hit me up on Twitter @CamFrazRob. Thanks for watching.